Lust isn't just a desire. It's a trap. They won't tell you this. They'll say it's natural, that it's part of being human, that everyone indulges in it. But look closer. Who benefits from this mindset? Not you. Not the millions of men who spend their nights scrolling endlessly, chasing an illusion, draining their strength, losing their focus, eroding their self-respect. Look at the world around you. The strongest men, the men who build empires, who command respect, who shape history. What do they all have in common? Discipline, self-mastery, the ability to walk away from temptation, because they know the truth. Lust is the fastest way to destroy a man from the inside, not through force, not through pain, but through pleasure. Think about it. How many times have you been distracted by your desires? How many nights have you wasted chasing something that left you feeling empty afterward? How many goals have you abandoned because what your urges controlled you instead of the other way around? Lust doesn't just steal your time, it steals your power. And Nietzsche understood this better than anyone. He saw how weak men become when they let their desires rule them. He knew that a man obsessed with pleasure is a man who can be easily manipulated. Because if someone knows what you crave, they know exactly how to control you. You think you're free? Tell me this. If I could put your deepest desire in front of you right now, would you resist? Would you have the strength to walk away? Or would you give in, just like they expect you to? And if the answer is no, then who really has the power? Look back through history. Men who shaped the world, warriors, philosophers, kings, had one thing in common. They controlled themselves before they controlled the world. They understood a brutal truth. Lust is not just a desire. It is a chain. The moment a man surrenders to it, he loses something. Not just his time, not just his energy, but his very essence, the fire that makes him powerful. Because the more a man indulges in pleasure, the less he hungers for greatness. And the system knows this. That's why lust is everywhere. They don't need to lock you in a cage when they can give you a screen. They don't need to break your body when they can break your will. They don't need to take your ambition when they can drown it in distractions. And the most dangerous part? It doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly. You tell yourself, it's nothing. Just a little indulgence. Just once. Just tonight. But then it's tomorrow. Then the next day. And before you know it, you've been robbed. Your strength gone. Your ambition numbed. Your mind dull. Because the more a man chases pleasure, the less he chases his purpose. And once you trade power for pleasure, you never get it back. The world has seen this cycle before. Great civilizations have crumbled because their men became weak. Rome, once the mightiest empire, fell when its men abandoned discipline for decadence. Samurai, once feared warriors, faded into irrelevance when their swords were replaced by indulgence. And today, men are falling in the same way, not by war, not by force, but by slow, silent decay. Because when you give in to lust, you don't just lose control over yourself. You give that control away to the algorithms that feed you more distractions, to the industries that profit from your weakness, to the forces that thrive on your submission. And this is why Nietzsche warned us, a man who cannot command himself will always be commanded by others. But no one wants to hear this, because it forces you to look in the mirror and ask the hardest question. Are you truly in control? Or are you just another man being led by a leash? Look at the world around you. Men are weaker than ever, more anxious, more depressed, more lost. And yet, they have more access to pleasure than any generation before them. This is not a coincidence. Because the moment you let lust take control, your life stops being your own. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, just one more time? Just a little longer. I'll stop after this. And yet, you don't. Because lust rewires your mind. Every indulgence numbs your ambition. Every escape makes reality feel harder. Every hit of pleasure weakens your ability to fight for something greater. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's happening. Because it doesn't feel like destruction. It feels like comfort. It feels like relief. But comfort is the enemy of strength. And relief is the illusion that keeps you weak. The greatest men in history, Napoleon, Julius Caesar, Marcus Aurelius, knew this. They understood that a man who can't control his desires is a man who will never control his future. Because the more you chase lust, the less you chase power. And this is why the system feeds it to you. They don't want strong men. They don't want disciplined men. They don't want men who build, create, and conquer. They want men who are distracted, men who are addicted, men who are too weak to resist. Because a man lost in pleasure is a man who will never challenge the world. Think about your own life. How many hours have you wasted? How many goals have you put on hold? How much energy have you given away to something that gives you nothing in return? This is how men fall. Not in battle, not in war, but in silence. Slowly, without even noticing, they become shadows of who they were meant to be. And by the time they realize it, it's already too late, unless they fight back. Because the truth is, lust only controls you if you allow it to. And the moment you take that control back, the moment you choose discipline over indulgence, the moment you reject the chains that have been placed on you, you become dangerous. Because a man who controls himself, nothing can control him. Imagine waking up one day and realizing every second of weakness, every moment of indulgence, every time you gave in, it was all a trap designed to keep you weak, a trap designed to keep you distracted, a trap designed to make sure you never reach your full potential. Because the truth is, lust is not pleasure. It is enslavement. It robs you of your energy. It steals your discipline. It hijacks your focus and leaves you empty. And worst of all, it keeps you chained to the lowest version of yourself. Look at the men who let lust rule them. They are tired. They are anxious. They are broken because they traded their strength for momentary pleasure, because they fed their desires until their desires consumed them. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. You can break free, not by fighting lust directly, not by hating yourself for falling into its trap, not by pretending you don't feel it, but by transcending it. Because lust only controls men who have nothing greater to live for. A man with a mission does not waste himself. A man with a purpose does not trade his future for pleasure. A man who is obsessed with his own greatness has no time for weakness, and that's the real secret. You don't defeat lust by resisting it. You defeat it by making it irrelevant. Because the moment you have something greater to fight for, lust loses its power over you. When you wake up with unstoppable purpose, you don't have time for distractions. When you are building something legendary, you don't seek cheap pleasure. When your mind is consumed by your mission, lust becomes a joke. And that's why the world doesn't want you to know this. Because a man who has mastered himself, a man who does not give in, a man who owns his mind, his body, and his destiny, is a man that cannot be controlled. And that is the most dangerous man of all. There comes a moment, maybe you've felt it before, where everything shifts. You realize that the world you've been trying to fit into was never designed for you. The endless small talk, the social rituals, the obsession with appearances. It was all a game meant to keep people distracted, docile, and afraid of standing out. And for a long time, you tried to play along. You toned yourself down. You laughed at jokes that weren't funny. You pretended to be interested in conversations that drained your soul. But now, something inside you has changed. You see through it. You see how the masses are controlled by shallow pleasures. You see how intelligence is ridiculed because it threatens the system. You see how the world fears those who think differently because they cannot be controlled. And in that moment, you make a choice. No more pretending, no more waiting for approval, no more apologizing for who you are. This is your awakening. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be understood. You are here to break free. Schopenhauer once said, "The higher the intellect, the greater the need for solitude." Because only in solitude can you finally hear yourself think. Only in solitude can you break free from the noise. Only in solitude can you become what you were meant to be. But here's the paradox. Once you fully embrace your intelligence, once you stop seeking approval, once you become truly independent, the world starts to take notice. The same people who dismissed you start to listen. The same society that rejected you starts to admire you. The same world that feared you starts to follow you. Because deep down, even those who once mocked intelligence crave guidance. They are lost. They are trapped in the illusion. And when they see someone who has broken free, they cannot look away. This is why the greatest minds in history were first ridiculed, then worshipped. Socrates was sentenced to death. Now he is called a genius. Nietzsche was dismissed as insane. Now his words shape the modern world. Schopenhauer was ignored in his lifetime. Now he is quoted by the most powerful thinkers. And now the question is, will you join them? Will you accept the loneliness, the struggle, the misunderstanding, knowing that it will make you unbreakable? Will you walk away from the masses and carve your own path, knowing that only the few who matter will understand? Or will you shrink back into the shadows, afraid of what might happen if you embrace who you truly are? The choice is yours. But remember this: the intelligent have always been feared. But in the end, they are the ones who change the world.